Welcome live here from Lucas Oil Raceway. We are set and ready to get the MiRL kicked off here tonight. We are having some Wednesday night short track action. Lucas Huffman and Steve Bonesteel up in the booth.
Thank you. Looks like qualifying winding down here. It looks like 25 cars have taken their times. A few more out there finishing up their qualifying laps. A familiar name.
These guys here just wrapping up their drivers meeting, and they'll be getting down on the grid to get things kicked off here. And again, live on Checkered Flag Interactive. Welcome back, fans of the short track racing, and it's going to be a pretty good race. Lucas Oil Raceways, one of the more exciting short tracks here on the surface. There's plenty of room to race, plenty of room to get 2-3 wide, and even if you do get spun around, if you're pretty solid at saving your car, you've got quite a bit of room to save it as well.
Yeah, definitely a lot of real estate to work with here. I had an issue there where I got cut off. But anyway, I want to say some familiar names at the top. We had Ricky Arbo. Looks like he's going to be starting on the pole today, and Mackenzie Brewer's going to be outside. Ricky had a good run last week. Really runs good every week, so possibly first time in a while he's been on the pole position. Maybe he'll be able to convert that to a win this week. Rolling through the field, you're going to see a couple weeks ago our winner at Irwindale, Mike Rhino, is going to be, or Rhino actually won at Oxford 3 weeks ago. He's going to be rolling off in the third position. Keith Mack, our winner at Irwindale, is going to roll off in seventh. Jake Goodwin, a familiar face at the front, going to roll off eighth here today. Be looking for them to make their way through the field. Looks like John Fitzpatrick in that 78 machine didn't actually register a qualifying time, so he'll be rolling off from the back of the field. We don't have any of our bigger names towards the back. Looks like everybody turning in a lap. Not going to have any of those run through the fields as quick as you can deals.
Well, Lucas, this season has definitely been going by really quickly here for the MiRL. The season started off, and we had a pretty exciting opening few races. Then we had a couple races where some of these guys had some troubles. And then now we're here at this racetrack. We're already 9 races, now 10 I do believe races into the season. Not that many races left. We've got a total of 16 on the board, and then 3 championship races at the end, so I guess 19 to come up with it. So it's going to be an exciting little bit of the season here before we head into the championship 3 races at the end. But these guys doing the best they can to, if you can finish in the top 10 every race, or at least simply finish, you're going to have yourself set up for a pretty solid run for the championship.
Yeah, definitely an attrition type deal in the super late models in this series. A couple good cars last week got caught up early. Chris Stewart and Travis Roma, they're in the 5th and 6th positions where they're qualifying for this evening's event. They were really around that about same spot last week at Thompson, and an early race accident took both of those cars out, so they took a hit in the point standings, but they're still right up there. I believe both of them in the top 10. It's just one of those things where consistency is going to pay off. Last week's winner, Stephen Matthews, actually going to qualify 11th here.
It's been a pretty interesting couple of days here on Checkered Flag Interactive. Last night we covered the Checkered Flag Racing League, their first official truck race at Daytona. Server issues, probably due to the winter storm that's been blowing into the northeast, affected the servers for a little while there, and we saw some pretty havoc-filled runs of racing at the track. So here tonight, I do believe the storm has pretty much subsided. The servers have stabilized. Everything's looking a lot better than it did over the past few days. So going into this race, going into tomorrow's Upper Edge Racing CMC Sportsman Series race, and then more importantly, to me at least, is going into this weekend's 24-hour race, the servers are looking a lot better, Lucas. But here they are. They're getting down onto the grid. What are your keys to getting this race and getting the win here?
Well, I think one of the biggest issues with this track and this car combo in general is you're going to need rotation through the center, a good run off. Not a lot of banking here, but it is progressive, so you carry a lot of speed down into that corner. trying to maintain that speed through the center and through exit is really what's going to separate the elite from the rest. Also, definitely with always here in the MiRL, keeping that car clean. You always look down your finishing orders, and there's 2 or 3 cars that are clean, and they're typically the 2 or 3 top finishing cars. Trouble seems to find this series. We can get green flag runs, and then once it seems like we have a few cautions, they just start compounding and happening all the time. It looks like we're going to roll off the grid here in a minute. So I'm going to jump in and say that Ricky Arbo in that 61 is going to start on the pole here. Mackenzie Brewer 55 outside of row number 1. Inside row 2, Mike Rhino in that 34. Outside the 03 of Ronald McKay. Inside row 3, Chris Stewart with the top 5 starting position. Travis Rome on the outside. Keith Mack, Jake Goodwin are going to roll off in the 4th row. And Craig McDonald and Todd Cousins are going to round out your top 10 qualifiers here. Rolling into 11th is going to be last week's winner, the number 98 of Stephen Matthews. Outside, the number 83 of Chris Roma. Inside, row 6 is going to be Ashton Tucker and Sean Pierce on the outside. Matthew Barkhouse with the top 15 qualifying effort. Christopher Garnett's going to roll off in the 16th position. Kyle Gammon, that 51 machine, he had a qualifying effort of 22.267. He's going to roll off 17th. Outside of him is going to be the David Cassidy machine. Inside, row 10 is going to be Jeff Gilmore in that familiar 57. Outside, the 89 of Morgan Murphy. 21st position is going to be Vic Greenwood. 22nd, Don Steves. 23rd, Sean Gayton. 24th, Carson Aub. 25th position is going to be George White. Then rolling off in the 27th position, the final car to qualify is going to be John Fitzpatrick in that 78 machine. Looks like the field beginning to roll off onto the surface. This is a little over 5/8 mile racetrack based in Claremont, Indiana. It's about a 15-mile drive from the Speedway. 125 laps here. Definitely going to be an interesting race as they're going to come around and take 1 to go this time by. Ricky Arbo with the new paint scheme this week, not the familiar red 61. We're seeing a white 61 with the red lettering. That 55 changed the number outline there a little more visible to our fans as the lights are out on the pace car, and we'll be going green here in just a moment.
These first couple of laps here, Lucas, are going to be very important for these drivers. It's going to be a sense of getting that car back underneath of you here. In a large pack of cars, these things tend to handle a lot different because you have to run completely different than you would when you're out there running hot laps and whatnot. So here, when these guys take the green flag, we're going to be watching closely to see how these guys handle these cars in a big a big pack of cars. But the pace car is off there with the early exit. The 61 is away. Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Looks like your top 3 are going to be able to settle in line here. A little loose out of the 22 of Keith Mack on that bottom. He's side by side with Ronald McKay. That's your first battle on the racetrack for the 5th position. That 98.
34 hard into the wall. Mike Rhino there.
Looks like we have a caution. There's trouble in the back of the pack.
Don Steves goes around.
And there was an issue we were talking about. You have all these guys really bottled up heading down into 3 when that pace car hits the pit lane, and then really any time from then on Arbo could have went. What that's going to do is that's going to cause a big checkup, usually guys in the back trying to get a good start, and it looks like Don Steves just timed it a little too well and found contact with another car there. Looks like Steve's got that car pointed the right direction. Everything's okay on it. Minimal damage. Should not affect that race car the rest of the race. The only thing that's going to happen there is he's going to drop to the back of the field. Looks like we had an issue with Craig McDonald. He wasn't, I think he was also involved in that, or there's maybe an issue with gridding, but he just now rolling around to complete his first lap, so you have to keep an eye on that. We were talking about a guy making a run through the field. He was supposed to slot into that 9th position through qualifying, but like I said, he's just now taking the stripe for his first lap, so he's going to be 2 laps down. Looks like the 21 machine of Sean Pierce getting some damage in that. Kind of came in. Gonna have to possibly take a look at something that looks like race control just set down a disqualification for that Matthew Barkhouse, number 45, for intentional wrecking under caution. May have to take a look at that and see exactly what happened there. Yeah, looks like he was disappointed with somebody. Looks like he's disappointed with that number 32 of Ashton Tucker, making contact with him. Heavy damage on both race cars. Try to get a shot of that.
Replay there on your screen.
Yeah, as you can see, it looks like, there's your source of the caution. Don Steve's actually just checking up and making his way through that. Barkhouse, I don't know if he got his nose chopped off, is what it kind of looks like, and then immediately went and relieved his frustrations on that number 32, and it's cost him eligibility for the remainder of this event. So, hot tempers already flaring here in Claremont, Indiana.
Really unnecessary, too. Only 5 laps into this race, getting yourself disqualified.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing about this is Chris Roma gets damaged. I mean, you have Christopher Garnett who gets damage out of this. You have Kyle Gammon getting some damage out of it. And I trust me, I understand frustration. I understand wanting to get a guy back, but if you're going to get a guy back, you got to do it right. You don't want to take out half the field with him because there's a lot of innocent bystanders there, and definitely a just disqualification. Probably won't be seeing Barkhouse for definitely the rest of this race, and I would hope probably not next week either. Definitely not worth it that early in the event. And as you know, he's been around long enough, and all of you have been watching long enough. These cars, you can beat them up pretty good, and they can still run pretty quick. So, looks like the field getting 1 to go that time by. They're doubling up. Like I said, it's gonna be Ricky Arbo, Brewer, Rhino, Stewart, and Mack, your top 5. McKay, Roma, Matthews, Goodwin, and Cousins are going to round out the top 10. Looks like pace cars in field stacking up. Looks like Arbo's going to bring him down here nice and slow. He stands on the throttle. Brewer gets on it as well. Rhino's able to slot in line. Looks like Keith Mack's going to get up to the 4th position. Chris Stewart back to 5th. First side-by-side battle's actually a staggered 3 wide between Roma, Matthews, and Goodwin. Looks like Matthews is going to be able to get a good run off the corner. Roma's going to try to stuff it down here in the bottom. He's actually going to lift off, slot in line. So we're single file through your top 8. Hung up on the bottom will be that number 199 of Jake Goodwin. He's able to get in line. The number 32 of Ashton Tucker making contact with the wall. So it seems like things have stabilized a little bit. Got a little bit of a battle for the lead as Mackenzie Brewer's looking for the front, looking to get by that Arbo machine, peeking to the bottom. These two seem to be the class of the field as they're breaking away, almost a half a second clear of 3rd place that time by. Brewer's right on the bumper of that 61. Gonna look to the bottom here, just not able to get the bite off. Gonna slot right back in line, and they're down the back straightaway.
Yeah, you see Mackenzie Brewer there. He looks quite a bit stronger from the center off, really diamonding the corners, getting that run off the corners. However, you see the 49 getting turned.
Contact 49.03, Ronald McKay making contact with Chris Stewart there. Looks like Stewart kind of pushed up into the wall. McKay didn't necessarily anticipate it. Contact was made, sending in at number 49, spinning into the inside barrier. Fortunately, just a 2-car accident. And it doesn't look like any major damage on that number 03 machine, just left side and the left rear. It looks like getting the shorter end of that stick was going to be the 49. Chris Stewart's going to drop all the way back. All the way back to, looks like the 18th position. I think he was running up in that top 5. I think he was 5th position. So a little bit of frustration on him, that's for sure. But the good thing is, still early in this event, is he's going to bring that Bass Pro Shops number 49 machine into the pit lane this time. Also coming in, it looks like you have the 57 of Jeff Gilmore, the 89 of Morgan Murphy. All of them electing for services on their cars. Oh, big contact actually made there under caution. Vic Greenwood making contact with the back of the number 9 of Craig McDonald. It's got to be a little frustrating. It seems like that 9 car always seems to be a pinball. McDonald's actually going to get the wave around this time, I believe. That should put him 1 lap down. Still all Arbo out front. McBrewer seemed to be running him down a little bit. I don't know if he was exactly better yet, but he definitely seemed to be on pace with him. Looks like that 11 of Vic Greenwood after that contact near the start-finish line is going to bring it down the pit lane. Just want to roll across and complete lap number 12 that time by rolling on to 13.
Just a quick reminder, you are tuned in to Checkered Flag Interactive. Lucas Huffman and Steve Bone still here tonight up in the booth. Brandon Hoff is A and away for the night at least. We will probably see him back next week. So here tonight, we've got 2 guys back up in the booth here for the MiRL. And the number 61's currently out in front, looking pretty strong early on. However, Mackenzie Brewer and that car directly behind him also looks pretty strong. So I've got a feeling on this next little green flag run we get here, if it's anywhere longer than about 10 laps, we're going to have ourselves a pretty tight battle for the lead.
Yeah, as that run progressed, it seems like Arbo maybe was, I don't know if he was saving his equipment or maybe just kind of slipping back, but it seemed like that 2-car battle turned into about a 5-car battle. Really top 4, maybe top 5. I think it was top 5, and then behind them they got together for 6th and 7th. One thing you want to make note of is Rhino, Mack, and McKay, that Revolution Motorsports team, they're always a powerhouse here every week. They're running 3, 4, 5, won 2 of the last 3 events. So definitely got to keep an eye on them. Looks like McKay and Rhino, I believe, were actually side by side at Irwindale. Would have capped off a 1-2-3 finish for them, but McKay and Rhino made contact, and that opened the door for Mack. One of the most exciting races I've ever seen. Make sure you guys go back, take a look at that, check that out. Definitely not what you expected. Even last week had a pretty. Seemed like it was going to be kind of a runaway for Stephen Matthews, but things were made very interesting on that last lap. Ford Mustang pace car getting the field doubled up. We're going to have 110 laps to go when they take the green flag. Familiar faces here in the top 6. As you're going to see Arbo, Brewer, Rhino, Mack, Matthews. Those are your top 6. Ford Mustang pace car into the pit lane. Ricky Arbo bringing them down nice and slow.
Just waiting for him to take off here, and it looks like there he goes.
Green flag in the air. We're side by side for the 3rd position. Ronald McKay not getting a great start. Side by side, Keith Mack, Mike Rhino. They're side by side for 3rd. Looking to the bottom. Really good run off here for Brewer. May look to the bottom. We have a caution here.
Craig McDonald goes around in the number 9 machine.
Yeah, probably a little frustrating for him. Was in a lucky dog position. Didn't really seem to have any luck. It looks like the number 11 of Vic Greenwood, I think, stopped up a little more than he thought. Made contact with him spinning around. So it looks like just a single car incident. But definitely things were beginning to heat up.
We'll hop on board with the number 9 of Craig McDonald. Just take a look. Yeah, he just plows right in there. The number 11 had to pretty much stop for a major checkup, and that was that. Yeah, the super late models, a lot of horsepower, not a lot of weight, a lot of brakes, not a lot of weight, so very, very quick, sudden movements in these cars. I think Craig McDonald's usually a guy we see running in that top 10, and usually running back there towards the back. He's not necessarily familiar with braking marks and the speed that they're carrying as opposed to what he is. I think it kind of bit him there. Well, while we have a moment, Checkered Flag Interactive's going to step away here from Lucas Oil Raceway. Do not go away. We will be right back here for more racing with the MiRL.
Welcome back to Lucas Oil Raceway here on Checkered Flag Interactive. We got a 125 lap event. Field rolling around, completing lap number 20. That time by 105 to go. Ford Mustang pace car lights are off. We're going to have 104 laps. Green flag in the air. Looks like Arbo's going to get the lead. Brewer right behind him. Single file back to Rhino. Mac actually looking to the bottom. Not going to get there. Not going to be able to get the run off. Single file all the way back to the 10th position. Looks like you have the number 98. Last week's winner, Stephen Matthews, kind of run on a little lower line than everybody. Going to cost him here on exit 05. Todd Cousins.
83 goes around.
Big checkup.
Big trouble.
Oh, huge chunk. Still wrecking. They're still wrecking. Absolutely massive. Chris Roma's involved, taking an immediate tow. You have, the 37 Carson Albs in it. You have David Cassidy in the 13 getting a piece of it. Morgan Murphy's going to get a piece of it. George White's also going to be involved. Kyle Gammon's in it. I believe Sean Pierce got a piece. Jeff Gilmore got some. Don Steve's in it. Also have that number 9, Craig McDonald we were talking about. He's in it. Looks like Vic Greenwood got a piece of it. One of the bigger wrecks of the season here, as I can count at least 10 or 11, 12 cars involved in that one. Ronald McKay actually was able to get checked up and get through that. Pretty good piece of driving out of him. But that's definitely going to change things here in this event. Wow. I didn't catch that one live, but I believe you did and our viewers did, Steve. What did you see happening there?
Really, the 83 just kind of either came up or came down, and he got hooked, and then immediately just sent everyone flying everywhere pretty much. And after that, it was just, like you said, big junk. Probably the biggest wreck we've seen all season.
Yeah, one of those issues where you have a corner here, and these guys are coming out of the corner and they're digging, they're trying to put the pedal down, and by the time they're actually starting to hook up is really where the wreck occurred. So that's why so many cars were involved. They were at maximum speed. Really, the only place they're going to be going faster is out the end of the straightaway, but that's much faster than most parts of the racetrack, and I think it's relatively blind here. So it's definitely going to change things. Kyle Gammon's going to lose a lap. George White's going to lose a lap. Jeff Gilmore's going to lose one. Craig McDonald staying one lap down. Chris Roma, a couple bad luck weeks in a row. He's going to be 2 laps down. Carson Albs 2 laps down. Drivers discussing what's happened here in the race. Not really sure is what they're sounding like. Wow.
Yep, not really much you can say about it here. 26 laps in. I think maybe even 4 cautions now, and over half the field's been involved in at least one of them. Not much you can really say other than that right there, so we'll see how this next restart goes.
Yeah, still really at the front. The news is no news. Ricky Arbo, Mackenzie Brewer, Mike Rhino, your top 3. Keith Mack, Stephen Matthews are going to round out the top 5. Todd Cousins, Travis Roma, Jake Goodwin, Ashton Tucker, Christopher Garnett, your top 10. John Fitzpatrick, Morgan Murphy, and there seem to be about the 12 cars that were ahead of that. And then on back, you have Don Steve, Sean Pierce, Chris Stewart, Ronald McKay, Vic Greenwood, Gilmore, Gammon, McDonald, White, Alb, Cassidy. They're all involved in that. So that's kind of your field rundown here with about 100 laps to go. Lights still on in the pace car, so we're going to have at least another lap or so here. Haven't really been able to get a good grasp on this race and who's got speed, who doesn't, as the lights go off on the pace car that time by. If we can get a little bit of a green flag run, we may have something to talk about, but right now we seem to be a little bit in the dark. I still think Ricky Arbo's got a good car, but I do think Rhino and Mack are going to be right there, and I think Brewer's obviously going to have something to say about it. But if we can get a little green flag action here, we'll be able to get a better grasp on what's going to go down here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Ford Mustang pace car is going to duck to the bottom here. Ricky Arbo, Mackenzie Brewer, your front row, bringing them down nice and slow here, waiting on that green flag, still holding. Long time green flag in the air. Ricky Arbo gets a good start. Brewer's able to slot into second. They're side by side for third. Mike Rhino, Keith Mack, side by side, the teammates. Looks like Brewer's kind of going to go up to the top. A little slip there. still side by side for that third position. Looks like the 199 of Jake Goodwin's going to get a good run off the corner that time. He's going to try to get to a top 5 position. That number 98, Stephen Matthews, running the low line, trying to make some work, trying to get something done, not working. He's going to fall back to the 7th position. Contact between the number 32 and the number 38 of Travis Roma. Ashton Tucker driving in a little deeper than the Roma machine did there. No harm, no foul. Send him into the corner. 0-2 Chris Garnett's rounding out your top 10. Looks like Arbo's built a little bit of a separation that time, as he's going to be leading, looks like with just under 95 laps to go here. Number 78 of John Fitzpatrick overdriving that corner that time, finding the wall.
Yeah, just looking at these guys up towards the front, you still see Mackenzie Brewer there in the 55. He is starting to really diamond the corners like we saw earlier on, but he's going to tap that outside wall there. That's going to kill off a little bit of momentum. Not too much with just that slight tap. However, that number 55 diamonding that corner, what that does is when he builds up too much momentum, he can't keep that car grounded on exit.
Yeah, I think early in the runs, that type of line is going to help, but I think that style of line where you're going to drive it in, park it, rotate it, and hammer it out is going to burn up the tires. And I think Arbo's a little more consistent, a little more of a conventional racing line, and it seems to be paying off as he's pulled away to almost a half a second. As the field's going to come around and complete lap number 33. It looks like Keith Mack, Mike Rhino, and Todd Cousins are going to run top 5. Field's starting to stabilize a little bit. We're single file almost all the way around this place.
Yeah, this track, Luke's Oil Raceway, I know you mentioned it under that commercial break, but this is one of those places where it's pretty much on single file for the majority of the race, because the racing line is you can't really run more than 1 or 2 lines here, and you can't really do too much battling.
Yeah, it looks like that number 55 car of Mackenzie Brewer really struggling on corner entry that time. Had to follow it up the racetrack. That's going to allow Arbo to almost pull it out to almost a second here. So they're going to come across the stripe this time to complete lap 35. We'll get an update of what's happening here. As you can see that, yeah, it pulled over to over a second lead. It looks like that 55 is just really struggling on corner entry. And I think a lot of the field's battling it, and Ricky Arbo's got that part done, and that's why he's been able to pull away to over a second lead here in really less than a 10-lap green flag run.
Looking through the field, most of these guys starting to really get spread out from the drivers that are around him. Stephen Matthews in the number 98 starting to get run down a little bit by the 38, and just as I say that, Travis Roma in the 38 machine starts to fall off just a little bit there, but then in 3 and 4 he really starts to close in on the number 98.
Yeah, they start closing together, and it looks like the number 199 of Jake Goodwin has ran down that number 05 of Todd Cousins. That seems to be the most legitimate battle on the racetrack. Looks like Brewer has a problem off of turn number 2. He's going to the pit lane. We're going to have to see what's going on with that car as he pitted in from the 2nd position.
And he stopped.
Not really understanding, pulling down, parking the race car. Going to take the tow. So that's effectively going to end the night out of the server. So I'm not sure what exactly happened, but that car was running in the 2nd position, just pulled down, pulled off the racetrack. Qualified in the 2nd position, running in 2nd. Was number 2 on the practice charts, so that's one of your big hitters already out of this race. Definitely not going to be back in this anytime soon. So that's going to change things completely, as Ricky Arbo now just went from a 1-second lead to an almost 2-second lead in that 61 machine. As we rolled around and complete lap 40 this time by, it's going to be 85 to go at the stripe. And it'd be definitely interesting to figure out what went wrong on that number 55 machine. Came out of turn 2, pulled it down to the apron, put it into the pit lane, and then left the racetrack per se. So definitely have to figure out what was going on there. One of the better weeks for that number 55. And we have a caution on the speedway. It looks like the 21 machine slowed up. A lot of these guys are slowed up more towards the back. Can't really figure out exactly where it was. Looks like that number 03 of Ronald McKay made slight contact with the 21. I think he tried to miss him. He locked him down and everything. Looks like both cars keeping it out of the wall, no damage, so that's the plus side of that. That's going to stack our field back up, not what Ricky Arbo wanted to see. Keith Mack and Mike Rhino are going to have another shot at it. But like I said, we needed a green flag run to figure out kind of what the story of this race and what the arc's going to be, and it seems like Ricky Arbo is the story.
Just taking a look at the replay there, slight contact and a 360 by Sean Pierce, that number 21, and he'll actually collect that car and get it back going.
Yeah, nice little piece of wheeling out of Sean Pierce, part-time racer in this series. Had a really good run last week, qualified on the pole. Slight contact between him and the 98 of Stephen Matthews effectively ended his night as he was leading out of turn 2 last week. I was talking to Sean before the race here, didn't quite have a handle on the setup here. He qualified on the pole last week and he was 14th this week in kind of a meddling 10th to 12th place car so far. Still showing off the driving skills there after the slight contact between him and the 03 of McKay. Speaking of Stephen Matthews, he came in to the pit lane, got serviced. I believe he took 4 tires there. So he will drop back from, I think he was running pretty well. He was came in from the 6th position there. I don't think he had any damage. I just felt like possibly he's feeling like he didn't have a race-winning car, and the only way he's going to have a shot at it is to put 4 fresh Goodyear tires on that thing and get it back out on the track.
I don't actually think they use Goodyear tires here in the SLMs.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the markings on the side. They may actually be Hoosier tires. I'm not sure exactly what they... None of the tires are actually the Wrights or assigned Tie Racing, so they'll put it in their font. And I believe they're actually Hoosiers upon closer investigation. Only makes sense here in the Hoosier State Lucas Oil Raceway, just about 10 miles down the road from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Claremont, Indiana. It only makes sense to have the Hoosiers on the cars for tonight. So we're going to do a quick run through of our top 5 here. Ricky Arbo is your leader. Keith Mack is in the 2nd position. Mike Rhino is going to be 3rd. Todd Cousins is going to be up to 4th because of that incident with Brewer. Travis Roma is actually also in the top 5. Looks like the 199 of Jake Goodwin had to have taken tires because he was, I believe, running in that 5th position. He's going to fall back to 11th. So not necessarily a bad decision. As the lights are off here in the pace car heading down into turn number 1, we're going to go green this time by. When they take the green flag, it'll be lap number 47. Going to be just about 76, 77 laps to go. Ford Mustang pace car to the pit lane. Ricky Arbo bringing them down. Looks like that 34 Mike Rhino is going to get right on his bumper. McKay in the 03. Getting slotted up on that outside. The 05 of Todd Cousins there. Big jump for the 61. 22 Keith Mack not going there. 34 Rhino is going to look to the bottom. They're side by side. Slight contact between the 78 and the 02 of Christopher Garnett. Everybody's got them straight. Everybody's got it going side by side for 2nd. Seems to be your battle. Not able to get by. Looks like it's going to be Mack to 2nd. Rhino back to 3rd. Cousins in 4th. And then in your top 5 is Travis Roma. Single file really all the way through the top 10. Looks like Jake Goodwin has already made his way up to the, let's see here, looks like he's made his way up to the 9th position, looking to the bottom of that number 89 of Morgan Murphy. Going to clear him here, it looks like, into turn number 3. Nope, still side by side. Going to try to get a good bite off here. A little loose there on the bottom, not able to get the drive he needed. Still side by side for that 8th position. Going to clear him that time out of turn number 2. Try to put his sights on that number 78 of John Fitzpatrick as he's on the bottom side of the 32 of Ashton Tucker. Up front, still Ricky Arbo, almost a half second now. And then it's Mack, Rhino, Cousins, and Roma, the top 5.
Contact between, I do believe that was the 32 of Ashton Tucker and John Fitzpatrick there.
Yeah, early in this run, it looks like John Fitzpatrick, that number 78, not making any friends, as that's also going to let Goodwin slip through. Oh, off the wall hard there was the number 32, Ashton Tucker, able to get that thing pointed the right way. Probably not too happy with that 78 for putting him in that vulnerable situation. 21, Sean Pierce on the outside of the 89. Morgan Murphy going the wrong way right now. Stuck on the bottom 98 of Stephen Matthews, also trying to follow through there. Up front, Arbo's pulled another 10th that lap. It's up to almost 3/4 of a second. Rhino's a second back from there. Looks like Goodwin's going to go to the bottom of that 78 machine, get him cleared there. That's going to put Goodwin up into the 6th position. That's where he was when he pit for those 4 fresh tires. So it doesn't really seem like it's hurt him to this point. I don't know if Goodwin's going to have the speed to run with Arbo if he got there, but it looks like he is definitely your number 2 race car on the track. Field's starting to settle in here a bit. We're single file all the way. It looks through this field. It looks like Arbo just went by the lap car of Carson Alb. Looks like Mac's going to get around him here on the outside. That 37 car yielding that top line to the leaders. Good sportsmanship and good racecraft out of Carson.
A little bit of lag out of John Fitzpatrick, but we've got ourselves a pretty large group of cars from 8th on back.
Yeah, you're going to go back to Ashton Tucker. I think that number 32 had some outside damage.
Contact.
Outside of the 21, contact puts him into the wall. Sean Pierce upset about that. He seems like he can't buy a break in this series lately. That's going to allow the number 98 through. And we have a caution on the speedway.
Don Steves goes around again.
Yeah, it looks like that number 01 of Don Steves just getting a little loose on corner exit. I don't know if the car really ever broke 90 degrees, but sideways enough in front of the field that the caution did come out. So that's going to tighten everybody up. That's going to take away Ricky Arbo's 1 second lead. Looks like we have quite a few cars hitting the pit lane here. Like Stephen Matthews in the 9th position on back, and even Jake Goodwin coming in that time. Again, I don't know if tires are that big of a deal. I think with the attrition rate that's been happening, you know, he feels confident enough with the 5 or 6 cars coming in behind him. He's just going to lose 3 or 4 spots, and as the race progresses, it may be important to have that, to have those tires. You just need a green flag run to be able to use them. So Field's going to roll around this time right here. They have completed lap number 58 or 57 on to lap number 58. Rolling in on halfway on this event. It's been all Arbo up front. Mackenzie Brewer, one of the better cars here all week with practice qualifying and even in the race, had an issue on looks like about lap number 39 right there in that area. An issue out of turn number 2. Seemed like the car lost power, came to the apron, and that was the end of their night. One interesting to take note here is Ronald McKay is actually behind the pace car. I don't know if this was possibly an issue with picking up the lead or what, but he's going to be waved around. He will stay on the lead lap. Behind him is Arbo in that number 61 Dale Shaw Race Cars machine. Keith Mack still running in the 2nd position. Another good run for him. Mike Rhino top 3. That's kind of where we expect to see him at this point. Todd Cousins hasn't really got the finishes that he's necessarily deserved these last few weeks, but he's running in that 4th position, one of the better runs for that Toyota Camry. Travis Roma, both the Roma brothers. Chris Roma having terrible luck. Once again, Travis always seems to find his way through a little luckier, I guess. He's in that Chevrolet SS in the top 5. Field doubling up. The number 78 of John Fitzpatrick, 6th. 7th place is going to be that number 32 of Ashton Tucker. Outside, Morgan Murphy. Inside, Jake Goodwin fell from 6th to 9th, and he's going to have 4 fresh tires here. Looks like we've got about 14 cars remaining on the racetrack. Ford Mustang pace car already in. Ricky Arbo bringing them down nice and slow now. Looks like Max trying to lay a little ahead as the green flag's in the air. Good jump for the 61. We're single file. Looks like our top 3, top 5 even here is the 78 of John Fitzpatrick's trying to get a good run here. 38 of Roma getting a little loose on the bottom. That's going to allow Fitzpatrick to get into the top 5 for the first time tonight.
Look at Jake Goodwin.
First battle, Jake Goodwin hanging tough on the bottom. He restarted 9th. He's battling for the 7th position. Can't quite. Oh, he gets chopped. Gets chopped big time. Ashton Tucker not making any friends tonight. We've made note of it. Jake Goodwin's still going to be able to retain position. A nice little wheelman job there. Stephen Matthews also on fresh tires. He's going to try to get through. That 199 is going to go through. He's not, really tight on the exit of turn 4 there. I think Goodwin's probably going to be able to drive a little deeper in here and try to wash up, kind of pull a slide job. He is going to clear him there. That's going to put him in the 6th position. I really feel like that Goodwin car is one to watch. You know, I feel like he probably should have won 2 or 3 races so far this season and hasn't got the results he's deserved. And tonight, I think he might be in one of the best positions. I hear big contact with the wall out of that 32 that time by.
Oh, the 38 sideways there. Beautiful
Roma
save.
with a big save. Heck of a save out of Roma there. Nice little job. We keep it straight. Roma's going to fall, looks like, all the way back to the 10th position. Outside of him, Sean Pierce. The news out front is that Ricky Arbo has a 4/10 lead, and then it's another 8/10 back to Mike Rhino. So Keith Mack's been able to kind of hang with that 61 a little better, but still not necessarily there. Not where that race car needs to be.
Single file throughout the top 5. These guys getting spread out. Lucas looking right now. Todd Cousins up in that 4th position. And John Fitzpatrick, even with that car, is up in 5th right now.
Yeah, he's definitely hanging in there top 5, but Goodwin's going to look to the bottom. Goodwin's going to clear him in the bottom. That is a power move out of that 199. That's going to put him back into the top 5 as we complete lap 66 that time by. We're on 67, just past halfway in this event. 98 of Stephen Matthews trying to get underneath that 89 of Morgan Murphy. Looks like Murphy hasn't quite had the handle he's wanted on that car today. He seems to be a little tight through the center and getting into the wall rather consistently with that right side, kind of like a Darlington stripe. 21, Sean Pierce going to go to the bottom. 89 into the wall like we talked about. Pierce is going to clear him. That's going to put him in the 9th position. Drop that number 89 of Morgan Murphy back to 10th, and he's got a challenge from, looks like the lap car of Christopher Garnett.
More contact with the wall. That 89 machine, Morgan Murphy, just wall riding it basically.
I think one of the issues he has is he's been hung up on the outside. I don't think he's entering as low as he necessarily has to, and it just, you know, this racetrack is it's a flat track, really. I mean, there's progressive banking, but even up there in that lane 5, 4, whatever you want to call it, there's not a lot of bite, and you really have to enter about that middle seam is where you'd like to enter, and then let the car drift up. If you enter any higher, you're going to find the outside wall, just like that 89 has rather consistently here tonight. I want to talk a little bit about Ricky Arbo. He is almost clear by a second, and then it's another second back to Mike Rhino as we come to, looks like 45 or 55 laps to go. I don't really know what to say about Arbo, but he's been dominant, and it looks like this is going to be his race to lose as we progress through. 199, Jake Goodwin has lost about a half a second on him. His contact's made between him and the 05 of Cousins. Cousins is going to go around. That's going to bring out a caution, or is it? Cousins gets it pointed straight. No caution.
That's a first on iRacing.
I mean, that car was completely pointed the wrong way, but, I think part of it may have been Goodwin was also slowed down, and their difference in speed wasn't high enough to trigger a caution. Heck of a job drive by Todd Cousins. That puts him back to the 9th position, not where he wants to be, but could have been a lot worse. That's going to move Goodwin up to 4th, but the worst thing about that is Goodwin lost almost 2.5 seconds on our third place car, Mike Rhino. Oh, contact 32 going around. That's going to bring out a caution. 05 of Cousins making contact with him.
Replay on your screen.
One of the more interesting things to happen, you can see that number 32 car, I think, didn't quite carry the speed that was expected of that that area of the racetrack, and contact was made. A little spin there. Cousins made contact with him. I don't think it was big contact for either one of them. But I think this just got interesting. Right now we're at lap 75. That's going to put us at 50 laps to go when they come around this time by. I don't think Goodwin is going to pit here. He's been pitting rather consistently, but he's up to the 4th position.
Our leader will pit, though.
Oh, wow. So there's an interesting call. Ricky Arbo coming in with 50 laps to go. Keith Mack is going to stay out. Goodwin's going to stay out. Rhino came in. John Fitzpatrick staying out from that 5th position. Wow, this is an interesting strategy here. The other car to come in was the 98 of Stephen Matthews. 83 of Roma came in. 05 came in after that spin. So this is going to put, let's see here when they roll around this time by. I feel like this is going to put, Ricky in about the 7th or 8th position when they come around to the stripe here. It'll update here as we get to it. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be in the 8th position as I'm counting through the cars on the racetrack right now as the lap cars come down the pit lane this time by. So Keith Mack is going to take over the lead. First time all night that Ricky Arbo is not at the top of the pylon here. Jake Goodwin up to 2nd. John Fitzpatrick's going to roll off 3rd. Sean Pearson, that 21, we've been talking about him tonight. He's going to elect for the track position in 4th. Don Steves has had a few incidents. He's in the top 5. Ashton Tucker 6th. Arbo is going to be 7th. Then it's going to be the 02 of Garnett. And then 9th will be Mike Rhino. And the top 10 will be Travis Roma. 05 Todd Cousins 11th. 98 Stephen Matthews in 12th. So wow, we're going to have, looks like we're at 44 to go right, or 47 to go right here. So when we take the green, we're going to be right around 45 laps to go, Steve. How do you feel about Arbo's decision there?
I think it's definitely necessary. With these remaining laps, you saw Jake Goodwin really be able to move through the field on fresher tires for about 10 laps. It really does make quite a bit of a difference. Here, the majority of the leaders will have to run the higher line because of the tire wear. They just simply don't have the bite that they need to maintain speed on the bottom. But, however, he will have some speed and a little bit of grip from those tires for about 5 to 10 laps. And then they'll cliff, and that'll probably be equivalent with everyone else out there, minus maybe half of a tenth or so. We'll just have to see how he manages traffic here. He'll technically only be 5 cars back from the leader being in the 5th row, so we'll see.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. If I were on the top of the box for that number 61, he's had a dominant car all night. When we built the setup, I'm sure if we were building it, I would have built the setup to have enough to go the whole way. I don't want to jinx him, but I feel like this is probably the only scenario where Ricky Arbo is going to lose the race. But anyway, Ford Mustang pace car looking at the bottom. Keith Mack, Jake Goodwin, your front row. A couple new players up there. Third place is that 78 of John Fitzpatrick. Watch for him. You're going to have Sean Pierce up there in the 21. Don Steves in 5th. Looks like Keith Mack's going green flag in the air. Looks like the 78 is going to barely get clear or chop the nose off of that 21. That's not going to make Sean very happy. As Arbo's already challenging for that top 5, he's underneath of Don Steves. Steves pinches him a little bit out of the corner. They're going to be side by side down into 3. Doesn't look like Arbo's car has the handling on the bottom. Not really getting the bite off that he needs.
Contact again.
Like Don Steves.
The 38 and the 98 in the grass.
Contact 21. Pierce is sideways. Arbo's going to go
Big
to the top.
wreck.
He makes contact. Arbo's in it.
Huge
Looks like I hear an
jump.
engine letting go in the back. So Arbo has big time left side damage on that race car. Looks like Ronald McKay maybe got a piece of that. The biggest piece of that, Sean Pierce. You know, Sean Pierce, feel like that 78 hadn't been making friends all night. I don't know if Pierce necessarily did anything wrong. He was carrying his speed through there. And, oh man, big throttle from the 05 of Ronald McKay. If we could get a view of that here. Looks like the 05 of Cousins. He, I don't know what he saw going on at the top, but he possibly thought he could get through there.
Yeah, just taking a look at the replay, he just completely annihilates Sean Pierce coming down the track, and then he goes back down, nails Stephen Matthews. Just a massive pileup.
Yeah, that was huge. I think upon watching it, I mean, I don't know if Todd really never saw it. I mean, I think he probably... Oh, he throttled it. He throttled up and tried to find a hole there on the bottom, but I think the 21 car of Pierce, he's a part-time driver here. I don't know if the brake pedal was held or not. So definitely a lot of cars getting tore up. That's going to knock Chris Stewart a lap down. Sean Pierce is going to fall a lap down. Todd Cousins also falling a lap down there. So Travis Roma is kind of a benefactor there, as he was able to jump to the bottom. Did a pretty good job by Travis there to get through that. He jumped from, looks like 6th up to 4th, but as they come around, iRacing has set him back behind those two cars. He passed through the caution. You got to feel for Arbo. He really had nowhere to go. But even with that left side damage, I still think that 61 car is going to control what happens here. I just think that car is good enough. And like I said, I didn't want to jinx the guy, but I feel like the only way he was going to lose that race was to put himself back there in a situation just like that. Field rolls around, completes lap 84, running around for the 85th time here. 40 laps to go when they come to the stripe. Lights still on in the pace car, so we're at least going to be another lap or so before we get to the green flag. Keith Mack, Jake Goodwin, John Fitzpatrick, surprising name up there. Haven't seen a lot of him this season. He's in that 3rd position. Don Steves had some issues early in the race, but like I was pointing out as he was racing alongside Arbo, he was hanging right with him. So he's in the top 4. Arbo 5th. Roma, Travis that is, running 6th. Mike Rhino up to 7th after the tires. Ronald McKay 8th. Christopher Garnett 9th. And then Morgan Murphy with the right side all Darlington striped up in the 10th position.
Darlington stripe here at Lucas Oil Raceway, so pretty tough there.
Yeah, good thing about these super late models, they're very durable cars. As the lights go off on our pace car that time by, field doubling up, it's going to be Keith Mack and Jake Goodwin. John Fitzpatrick, Don Steves, and then Arbo. Like we said, keep an eye on him. He's in that 5th position. This will be the first time he's running around the circuit with damage. Ford Mustang pace car hitting the pit lane. Keith Mack going to bring him down nice and slow right at 50. Looks right around 50 mile an hour. Jake Goodwin in the 199 hanging on, and big early jump for the number 22. 78 going to follow through. Looks like a great start. Big contact in the back. I don't know if that's going to cause a caution. It looks like Don Steves was able to get it going. He kind of missed the start there. Arbo was able to jump all the way from the 5th position to the 4th position. Caution on the speedway. We have a 89. Looks like Morgan Murphy's in it. Another big wreck back here at the back. 02 Christopher Garnett's in it. Looks like Carson Alb got a piece of that. Stephen Matthews is going to get a piece of that. 71 George White looks like he got some. Looks like the one to get the worst out of that's going to be that 32 of Ashton Tucker.
Yeah, very unfortunate there. Taking a look at the replay there, that entire start was pretty bottlenecked up towards the rear of the field there, and then diving it through 1 and 2. These guys were 2 and 3 wide abreast. Off the corner, the 0-1 got turned, and then everyone else behind him just had nowhere to go. And again, might just be one of those wrecks that might compete with one of the biggest wrecks we've seen all season.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about it pre-race, Steve. I know you made a few comments of it, of how wide this racetrack is, and even with how wide this place has been, we've been able to find some big wrecks. I think that one, Don Steves I think he restarted in the 4th position, didn't get a good start, spun the tires a little bit, and then wasn't able to carry any momentum down through 1 and 2, and that's why we had the big bottleneck out of 2. It was simply just because he wasn't able to carry the momentum he needed to, or 1 and 2 out of turn 2, and then Roma probably didn't expect the closing rate to be that high. Contact was made, and everything else ensued from there.
Well, we're going to head off to a quick commercial break here at Checkered Flag Interactive. Do not go away. We will be back for the restart. Welcome back live here from Lucas Oil Raceway. The pace car lights are off. Lucas Huffman, Stephen Bonesteel up in the booth here tonight.
Looking to pit in this time by. There he goes. He hits the bottom. Keith Mack, Jake Goodwin, your front row. Mack went a little earlier than expected last time, and the 199 suffered, and especially that 4th place car did. As he goes this time, looks like Arbo's going to get a good start. He's side by side with the John Fitzpatrick machine. They slot in 1-2. Arbo's up to 3rd, 78 of Fitzpatrick, pushing up big time there. He's not going to have the runoff he wants. Looks like Roma's going to have to lift. Slight contact made between Rhino and Roma as the 78 puts it into the wall. Contact
38 and 78.
The 78. Big save out of Fitzpatrick. Just got bullied out of the way by Roma there. So move Roma to the 4th spot. That's going to push Rhino, I believe, up to 5th.
84 in the wall.
There.
Or 78.
A little bit of struggles out of that car, but seems to be able to get a good run off the corner. So it looks like Mike Rhino is setting his sights on the Travis Roma machine. He's going to look to the bottom. Nothing there.
Ooh, the 61 loose.
Ricky Arbo, oh, he's able to save it. What a save out of him. There's 30
and
to
the
go.
38 dives it in there. He wrecks him.
He goes around. Roma's in the wall.
The 38 just flat out wrecked him. Flat out wrecked him.
Yeah, he just, he drove a whole football field to get to him down there and won. And contact was made. I don't really know exactly.
No excuse.
No excuse. Really no excuse. I think Travis expected to maybe be all the way under him at that point, but
really just no excuse.
Yeah, I don't really necessarily see see a rhyme or reason for what happened there. I think he saw an opportunity, didn't really process it 100%, and jumped at it, and ended up costing Ricky Arbo a shot at this race. As we're at 30 laps to go when they crossed the line that time. Oh man! So Travis Roma, by that he's going to be in the third position, so he's going to have a shot at it. Jake Goodwin, I'm pulling for Jake because I know he's had a lot of good runs and he hasn't got the result he's deserved, and I'd like to see him get to the victory lane. I'd like to see Travis Roma get in there. Keith Mack, he won a good one at Irwindale. Wouldn't mind seeing him here again. John Fitzpatrick, through all of that, still running top 5. He's kind of taken the Morgan Murphy approach and just bounce it off the wall in the center of the corner and dig. All right, so that was not what we expected. I didn't want to jinx the guy, but I knew when Ricky brought it into the pits, it wasn't going to work out just with the way these races play. Dominant car all night. You give him 10 laps, he'd be clear by the second, and he's all wadded up in the 9th position. So, he's going to have about 25 laps. We're rolling around to complete circuit number 98 this time by 125 lap race, so there's 27 to go. Lights are still on, so it's probably going to be exactly 25 laps to go, so it's going to be another Saturday night 25 lap feature.
And I don't really ever share my personal opinion about wrecks here on CFI, but that one right there, I looked at it again, and just looking at it, as a driver, that 61 machine, even with some damage, he was out in front of the field for a long time earlier on, just doing a beautiful job out there leading, got caught up in a bad situation, and again, did a beautiful job saving it, doing a hell of a job compared to everyone else out on the track tonight, and just diving it in there like that to take one position away. I just can't believe it. That's definitely a dirty move.
Yeah, not something I'd necessarily expect out of Travis with my limited viewing experience. Just want to make note, Ronald McKay was running in the 6th position. Motor just let go down into 2. So Ronald McKay has pulled that thing into the infield. It's going to be the end of his night, so that's going to move Morgan Murphy up a spot to 6th. Christopher Garnett's going to move to 7th. Arbo is going to go up to 8th. Don Steves 9th. Jeff Gilmore 10th. So, through all that, Ricky's going to be rolling off 8th here. I honestly think you want to start on the outside. Field doubling up right here. It's going to be Keith Mack, Jake Goodwin, your front row. Roma and Rhino in the 2nd row. Fitzpatrick and Murphy, row 3. Row 4 going to be Garnett, Arbo. Row 5, your top 10, Don Steves and Jeff Gilmore.
All right, the pace car lights are off here. Like you said, it's going to be basically a Saturday night short track shootout feature kind of race. At least if we go green flag, that is. Jake Goodwin's my pick to win now, but the number 61, he's still got a little bit of hope here, so we'll see how this one goes. We are racing. Keith Mack is away.
Big jump for Mack. We're single file through our top 4 first battles for that 5th position. That number 89 of Morgan Murphy, bouncing it off the wall, trying to get a good run. Doesn't look like it's going to work. Arbo's in the center, almost 3 wide. He's going to move up to the 7th position as we're single file now all the way back to the 10th position of, looks like, Don Steves.
Again, Morgan Murphy getting a little bit of the wall. Now the 61 going underneath. Morgan Murphy's basically wall riding it out there. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's been able to find a way to, just knock the lettering off the side of that car without really knocking anything out. Arbo's hanging tough on the bottom, but he just is not going to have the bite. 89 gets in the wall, Allen corner exit. That should allow him to clear him. Looks like he is going to be clear. 89 into the wall again there. That's going to allow the 0-2 of Christopher Garnett to get beside him. So give Arbo the 6th spot. John Fitzpatrick in 5th.
3-car battle for the lead starting to shape up. Jake Goodwin in 2nd, Mike Rhino in 3rd. Both of those drivers trying to chase down the number 22 with Keith Mack there in the Zigzag Chevrolet late model out in front right now. A little bit of ground to make up by Jake Goodwin. Right now Keith Mack is looking strong.
Yeah, big deep drive into the corner by Mike Rhino that time. He's going to get to the bumper, that 199 here on corner exit. Oh, possible contact. Mike got out of it. Still plenty of time left as we complete lap number 104 that time by, 21 to go. That's going to give Roma the opportunity to try to join this battle.
Roma's going to get a little bit loose.
Looks like Rhino's trying to get under that 199, but he just can't get the drive off as he's able to kind of cut it down a little more. Looks like a little bobble out of Keith Mack that time and Jake Goodwin. So that's going to allow it really to tighten up here as you can throw the top three within a half second of each other. It's another half second back to Travis Roma, and then a little further back, as second behind them is Fitzpatrick and Arbo.
Hopping on board with the number 34 of Mike Rhino. Taking a look, you see the back bumper of the 199 just inches apart in the corner. A little bit of contact there, and they're going to pile it back off the corner, and it's going to be another time for Mike Rhino to see if he can get underneath of him here.
I feel like while these two are somewhat battling, they're actually beginning to make gains on that 22. I think that Goodwin has the best car through center and exit, and I talked about it in the pre-race. I think that's what you want here. These two Revolution Racing motorsports cars seem to be better in corner entry, as looks like Rhino's going to make contact with the wall that time, and Goodwin is there. He is right on the back bumper of Keith Mack as they come around to complete lap 108. 17 laps to go.
Roma gets a little bit loose.
Also want to make note that Arbo has made his way back to the top five, as it looks like Goodwin's going to look to the bottom here. He's going to be there when they enter turn 3. Side by side for the lead. 17 laps to go. Goodwin absolutely showing no fear on the bottom. Rhino's going to try to follow him through. Goodwin with an incredible
contact.
Drive. He makes contact. They both keep him straight. No harm, no foul. Side by side. Goodwin's able to toss it down in there. Not able to clear him.
This is going to be a great battle off the corner.
As you can see, Mike Rhino's just trying to pick who's going to go through because he wants to follow him through to that second spot.
More contact
between Rhino and Goodwin. That's going to allow Mack to clear him back in line. We're single file.
Rhino's going to go underneath Goodwin.
And it looks like he's not going to get the bite off the corner that he needs, as we're back to single file with 15 laps to go, 111 in the book.
Look at Rhino all the way down on the apron.
All this battling has allowed Ricky Arbo to close that gap. They were almost 2.5 seconds back. He's down to a second and a half. So if they keep battling here for the lead like this, that Arbo machine could be a part of it again. I really feel like Jake Goodwin's got the best car. He's just going to have to be patient. I know there's only a few laps left, but he's got time.
Looking out the back bumper of Keith Mack, you see Goodwin just in the catbird seat right now as these laps start to click off the board even more. 13 laps remaining. Anyone's game up in the top 5.
Yeah, as you're riding along the back, you can see where Jake Goodwin's able to arc it a little more through the center and get that better run off. He does not make contact. He came out right beside that wall that time by just over a tenth behind, 1.3 tenths back, as he's going to look to the bottom. He's got a good run this time. This is the closest he's been on corner exit. He makes a big toss down into the corner. He's able to keep it on the bottom. The 22 Keith Mack pinching him as much as he can. They're side by side for the lead, and it looks like Goodwin's going to beat him to the stripe that time, as he's going to clear Mack. Contact! Mack throttles it up, tries to get to him. Mike Rhino's going to get through there. Hey, Goodwin's clear by 2 now, clear by 3, driving away side by side for second. As we have a smoker in front, he's made his way to the pit lane. All this has allowed Travis Roma. He's part of the battle now. He's only a half second behind the lead. He's in the 4th position.
Absolute incredible, more contact there. The 22 gets into the 34. Rhino's going to dive it in there. There's Travis Roma in the 38 underneath Keith Mack. Huge battles up towards the front, and there's Ricky Arbo right now.
Yeah, don't look now. That number 61 machine is right here. He's part of it. That 98 contact.
He turns the 38! Exactly what I thought he'd do.
Back up the track. This is going to be a caution, most likely.
No, he saves it.
Roman's able to keep it going. What a job. Roman's made a lot of those saves tonight. That's going to put Arbo into 4th. All while this is happening, Jake Goodwin is pulled away by almost 3/4 of a second.
exactly what I thought the number 61 was going to do after Travis Roma knocked him up out of the way. I guess it's his turn now in the number 61 machine to knock him up out of the way.
Yeah, taking a look at the scoring sheet that time, it looks like the Mike Rhino number 34 closed in a 10th on the number 199 at Jake Goodwin's. We're going to come around to 7 laps to go at the stripe this time by. And we're going to see here, he's actually clicked off another half a tenth there, so he's going to be close. I don't know if he's going to get there, but it's all Jake Goodwin right now. It's another second back to Mac from Rhino. And then Arbo has kind of settled into that 4th position. I think the 98 of Stephen Matthews actually might be a little better than him.
Rhino really making some gains over the past couple of laps. Now on our leader, Jake Goodwin starting to lose some of that lead. 6 laps remaining, coming to 5 to go. Rhino taps the wall. Big time battle for 3rd. Keith Mack has a handful.
Yeah, Keith Mack has a handful, but if you look in the mirror, that 199, Mike Rhino looks like he is going to get there. He's been able to drive it in really deep into the corners and able to make it rotate as he's less than a half a second back of Goodwin. Goodwin was able to stabilize a little bit there, almost pull him by a half a tenth. I think Rhino made slight contact with that outside wall last time, and that cost him. No contact this time by, and he's about clear. He's about 3 car lengths back.
Keith Mack still battling hard for 3rd. Now the 98 of Stephen Matthews on the outside of Ricky Arbo there. That might save the 22, but we look back up to the lead where things haven't changed. Mike Rhino trying to chase him down, just not quite able to get there.
Yeah, I think Mike's making good laps. It's just these cars are so temperamental. One little slip is a tenth. And he's able to stabilize the lead that time by actually pulling by a half a tenth as we have 3 laps to go. Jake Goodwin, your leader. Mike Rhino, 2nd. Keith Mack battling for 3rd.
Mike Rhino pulling off the corner, giving it everything he's got. You see that tail end really starting to come around. He drives it through the middle of the corner, giving it everything he's got. He's getting tight off corner exit there. Almost gets into the outside wall.
Yeah, I think that tightness out of 4 there may have cost him his shot at it. He's over half a second back as we're 1.5 to go. He's sailing it out there trying to get there, but it looks like it's going to be Jake Goodwin's if he can just stay clean for another lap here.
Big time battle still ensuing there. Stephen Matthews on the inside of Keith Mack there for 3rd. They're going to be side by side going down the front straightaway. No competition for the lead. You're not missing anything there. Jake Goodwin in the clear. Stephen Matthews underneath the 22 there. Keith Mack's going to be cleared almost off the corner. And it looks like they're going to be going side by side in the 3 and 4. Jake Goodwin gets the win over half of a second, but the battle right now is for 3rd. Stephen Matthews on the inside, going to run out a little bit of room.
He's going to crowd Mack.
Knocks him right in the wall.
3rd position, though. So Keith Mack, not going to be too happy about that, but Stephen Matthews, you watched him last week and you've watched him in the past. He does what he has to do to get there. Ricky Arbro showing a little frustration after that race, heading down into 1 and just turning dead right. Can't say I blame him, but you know, when he came into pit with 50 to go, I said it right then, that was going to cost him. And got to be disappointment down there for those guys. So Jake Goodwin, we said it earlier in the broadcast. You know, he's had a lot of really good runs this year. He's been up front. He hasn't been able to close the deal. I personally was rooting for him there with 50 to go because he's not really got the finishes he's deserved, and made a few comments earlier in the season about how he hasn't been able to close deals. But Jake Goodwin in that 199 machine, he's going to bring home the trophy here at Lucas Oil in Claremont, Indiana.
The results there cycled through your screen, and now just taking a look at Goodwin parking it up on the front straightaway. We've caught up with Ricky on pit road. You got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I sure do.
Hey, Ricky, this is Luke. I just want to say you had a great car tonight. Tell us about what transpired there earlier in the race and what changed towards the end when you kind of slipped back.
I plain and simple shouldn't have pit. I had the car to stay out and not pit, and for some reason I decided to pit, and from there it just went down the drain.
Yeah, we noticed through any the slight green flag runs that we had early in the race, you were able to pull second and a half in 10 to 15 laps. And I made the comment when I saw you head down the pit lane, I made the comment really the only way you were going to lose this race was a move like that, and unfortunately it did end up catching to you.
Yeah, I don't know why I decided to go in. I just thought that maybe it would be a benefit, and bad call on my behalf. I had a great car. Thanks to Chris again. You know, he sets it up every week, and the car was definitely dominant. I definitely got to thank Energy Hour Productions Nick Story for helping me out also, and fight him next week.
Alrighty, Ricky. Well, we're disappointed you didn't get the finish you wanted, but you did put on a heck of a show tonight. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. You guys also put on a good show, and congrats to Jake on his win.
So that was Ricky Arbo. You could definitely hear the disappointment in his voice. It wasn't the decision he necessarily can look back on and say I made the right call. I think it was, I was pointing out, I think it was the decision that was going to cost him the race, and ultimately it did.
Yeah, very unfortunate that's how things played out for him, but that's how racing goes, and luckily for him, he was still able to get a solid finish up out of it. So with that being said, things are pretty much wrapped up here from Lucas Oil Raceway. Thanks for tuning in to Checkered Flag Interactive. Steve Bonesteel and Lucas Huffman up in the booth. We'll see you next time.